Arie of Pups Unleashed, and in this video I'm going to cover 5 ways that you can be the person that every dog wants to meet. Meeting a new person is an exciting moment for a dog and for you as the pet parent. And you've probably observed that your dog responds to different people in different ways. And there's a lot of reasons for that. But there are some things that you can do as a person to really increase the chance that when you meet a dog for the first time, they're going to take to you pretty quickly versus have any sort of reaction that doesn't look like they want to approach or greet you. Humans have some habits that we tend to fall into that can sometimes make dogs nervous. So if you're kind of aware of the way that dogs typically greet one another and you adopt some of those strategies instead of the human strategies that we use when we meet other people, oftentimes you can have a much better greeting with a dog. And a lot of that breakdown comes from the fact that we are primates. Dogs are canines. When dogs meet each other, they do completely different things than when humans meet each other. Humans are handsy because we have opposable thumbs. We like to approach and get really close during greetings. A lot of times make physical contact quite soon. And make a lot of direct eye contact. And all of these things are things that dogs really don't love when they meet a stranger. Something that tends to be extremely helpful in understanding how to greet a dog or meet a dog for the first time is reading their body language. Whenever you see someone greet a dog and that dog is really calm and just sort of melts into the situation right away, they're really kind of happy and comfortable in the moment, it's oftentimes that the person that they're meeting is making them feel safe. And the way that we do that is we read the dog's body language. So there are some things you want to look for when you're greeting a dog for the first time. Body language that shows that the dog is comfortable and willing to interact with you would be things such as a tail that is either wagging in such a way that the dog's body is loose. So oftentimes when you see a happy tail wag, in addition to seeing the tail go back and forth, you often see the dog's bottom half go back and forth. You see almost that little butt wiggle. That's a happy tail wag. Big, lopey, circular motions of the tail. And the tail is not stiff. It's relaxed and it's just kind of going all over the place. If you see a tail that is wagging rapidly, but it's really, really high, that's not a happy tail wag. That is a dog that is really assessing the situation and deciding, do I need to be offensive in this situation, defensive in this situation? It's not a happy tail wag when it's stiff and very, very high. You're looking for that loose, happy tail wag. You also are looking that the tail is not extremely low or tucked under the dog. That's a fearful dog or a dog that's really unsure about the situation. So just keep an eye on that tail. You want it to be loose and wagging. You do not want it to be high and stiff. You do not want it to be low and tucked in that situation. You also have to take into consideration the normal tail carriage of the dog. So if it has a cropped tail or a tail that's frequently up high or naturally low, that's going to change a little bit how you interpret the tail. But just know that as a rule of thumb, that's what you're looking for as far as the tail goes. Other things you want to look at body language wise would be the body of the dog. Is the body wiggly? Is the body loose? Or is there a lot of tension? If you see a lot of muscles that are really, really tense, that's a dog that is not relaxed or happy to be in the situation. You want to see a dog that clearly has a loose body. When you look at a dog's head, there's a lot of things you can notice. One thing you want to look at is their ears. You want a dog, when they're greeting you, to have typically ears that are relaxed. So not incredibly alert to the point where they're really, really stiff, and for a lot of dogs, they're completely upward. You do not want a dog whose ears are completely back. That's showing some type of stress or fear there. You want a dog that just has a naturally relaxed ear. And as far as what the position is, it depends on the dog, because dogs have all sorts of different ear positions. But you want those ears to be relaxed as well. As far as the dog's eyes, you want to look that they are not really, really wide, not super dilated. Those squinty eyes tend to be really happy eyes in dogs, relaxed eyes. You don't want that sort of whale eye where their eyes are so big you can see the whites of their eyes. The other thing is you look at what they're doing with their eyes. Most dogs, when they're happy and greeting you, they're kind of all over the place. They're not just looking straight at you. If a dog has a locked stare on you, that's not great body language either. That's a sign that you want to slowly back out of that situation. So read that dog. That will tell you how they're feeling about the situation, and then you know how to proceed. In addition to reading the body language of the dog, you also want to keep an eye out for any sort of stress signals that the dog is putting out, as well as any sort of calming or appeasement gestures that they are trying to show you, which essentially mean, I'm not a threat, please don't hurt me, I'm just a happy little dog here. So things to look for as far as these signals would be, obviously, some of them you're not going to miss. If a dog is growling or barking or snarling or really trying to pull towards you, those are all really obvious signals that things are not going as planned and you do not want to approach. But there are also subtle things that a lot of people miss that happen before those really obvious displays. So things to keep an eye out for would be things like lip licking. That's a stress sign. Yawning, that's a stress sign or a calming signal. That means this dog is feeling a little uncomfortable and they're trying to, release some of that tension. Purposefully ignoring you, so looking away in a situation where you're close enough that the dog probably wouldn't be looking away if they were comfortable. So completely ignoring, looking away. Sniffing, it's called displacement sniffing, where the dog is doing something else and then all of a sudden they just sort of start sniffing. It's a way to calm themselves and show that they're not paying attention to you. You're looking for these things that basically mean the dog is not loving the situation. You might also see something like a shake off, which you see when dogs are wet and they take a bath. Well, if you see that out of context, it's most likely a stress signal. It's the same with yawning. If you're in this situation and your dog is yawning like crazy, it's probably a stress signal, not that your dog is tired. So read the body language and really look for those stress signals as well. And then you might also see some appeasement gestures, those signals that mean I'm not a threat. So things like showing of the belly, sometimes showing of the belly and urinating. It's called submissive urination. And things of that sort, that's basically not necessarily saying that the dog is in a situation where they're incredibly uncomfortable, but they're trying to show you they're not a threat. So you need to watch what you do following those to make sure that you also do your part to calm that dog down. You also want to make important considerations about your dog or the dog that you're about to meet when you're in these situations. So you want to look at things like the dog's age, the dog's breed, as far as characteristics of the dog, the individual dog's personality. So breed characteristics provide you sort of a general scaffolding for what the dog's personality might be, but there's a huge degree of variation within individuals of a certain breed and then even between breeds as well. So the individual dog's personality is really important. The dog's socialization history is probably more important than anything else. What experiences was that dog exposed to within the first 12 to 16 weeks of its life? So very, very young puppyhood determines in a very large part what the dog's personality is going to be as far as how they perceive new situations. So that dog's socialization history is incredibly important. And then also the person that the dog's going to meet. So it might be you if you're the person meeting the new dog, or it might be, a family member or a friend or a neighbor that you're introducing your dog to. So how is that person with dogs? Do they understand canine body language? Is this person one that your dog is likely to be relaxed with because this is a person with a calm demeanor, a quieter demeanor, or is this someone like maybe a young child that's very loud and has very quick, unpredictable movements? Look at the person that the dog's going to be introduced to as well, because that will tell you a ton about how to proceed. The next thing that you want to consider are the 5 ways to make yourself the person that every dog wants to meet. These 5 things are as follows. First, you want to always read the dog, which we talked about already. You want to make sure that you're looking at body language, you're looking for stress signals, and you're looking for a calming gestures or any sort of appeasement signals as well. And then you proceed at the pace that the dog is comfortable. If they're throwing out a bunch of stress signals, it's not a good time to proceed. The second consideration, or the second thing that you want to do, is you want to look at how you approach the dog. Humans tend to approach straight on. You see a friend across the room, you're going to walk straight up to them and talk. You might even hug right away, physical contact. You're obviously looking them straight in the eye. All of those things dogs can see as threatening when it's a stranger doing that. So when you approach a dog, instead of walking straight towards that dog, you want to arc your arrival. This is naturally how dogs greet each other off leash. They very rarely go straight at each other. In fact, if you see that in off leash dogs, it's a sign that things might not be going so well. You want to walk almost as if you're going to walk around that dog. So you're arcing your arrival towards them and you're going to stop short. Do not walk straight up to them. Leave several feet. Depending on the size of the dog, that's going to vary, but like 5 feet is a good kind of starting point, and then just read the situation and see if you should be giving even more space than that. That way the dog can make up the difference there. The third thing that you want to do to make sure that you are the person that every dog wants to meet is you want to look at your presence. You want to appear small and non-threatening. So there's a lot of ways you can do that, but when you walk up to a dog and we're doing our arced arrival, when we stop short, the next thing I typically do if I've not met this dog before is I turn sideways, because turning sideways I look a lot smaller than if I'm straight on. So if you turn sideways, you're immediately looking smaller to that dog. And then depending on the size of the dog, you also might want to bend towards the ground, especially if it's a smaller breed dog. You want to make sure that you're looking at the body language of the dog. If it looks like the dog's extremely stressed, I would just back off, not get on the ground and then potentially make it a harder situation for you to get out from. But if the dog is comfortable, I turn sideways, and that's when I kneel down towards the ground. So I look smaller and non-threatening. I'm keeping my voice low and affectionate. I'm not being really loud. I am not moving rapidly either. I'm moving slowly, calmly. I'm really just setting the tone that I'm a non-threatening being here, so feel free to check me out. The fourth thing you're going to do is if, all's going well at this point, you do nothing. You're going to wait for the dog. At this point, it's in the dog's court if they want to approach. Consent is huge with dogs during greetings. A lot of times people just march right up and immediately touch the dog. That is not what dogs want you to do. So you're going to wait and you're going to allow the dog to approach you. If that dog approaches you and starts to solicit attention, then you can mirror that back to them. So you can do things like show some calming signals. So pretend to yawn, turn your head away instead of making sustained eye contact. Dogs see sustained eye contact as threatening a lot of the time. So once you look at the dog, then look away. That way you're not just staring them down and they don't see it as a challenge. Yawning is really great as well because it mimics that signal that means I'm not a threat and I'm just releasing any stress that I have. So that's a great thing to mimic for the dog as well. And then number 5 on this list is if all else has gone well and you're going to engage with this dog, please do it in such a way that makes the dog comfortable. So here are some things to do. Toss some treats towards the dog first. Make sure that they're willing to approach you. If a dog's not taking food, they are stressed. It means I need to back off. If they're taking food and they come close to you and they're soliciting some attention, try giving them a little treat from your hand. If that's still going well and this dog is still loose and wiggly as you read them and they lean in for petting, you want to pet them typically under the chin or on their chest. Something that humans tend to do is leer over dogs during greetings. This is very scary to dogs. Do not pet the top of their head, do not lean over them, and do not force your hands towards them. Keep your hands close to your body, and then the dog can come up and nuzzle against you to solicit that petting and show that they're giving you consent in that situation. If you follow those steps, there's a really great chance that that dog is going to take to you, and if they don't, it just means that they're not comfortable with the situation and there is zero reason to force it. That's where you back off, you give the dog space, toss some treats, and go on your way. That way, the dog does not have any sort of negative interaction with you, and you really just helped that dog build a positive association with a stranger, even if they didn't get to the point where they were making physical contact with you. If you adopt these 5 ways to greet dogs in a variety of circumstances, chances are that your greetings are going to go very well. And if you're the pet parent of a dog that struggles with greetings, please check out our video on 5 ways that you can advocate for your dog and help them in those situations with strangers. As always, please make sure you like and subscribe for new content. Thanks so much, and I'll see you next time.